Hello and welcome back to the Turnstile on for what is quite a rare occasion this year. Not a great day to be an Arsenal fan. Obviously, yesterday we saw Arsenal essentially hand the title over to Manchester City in devastating fashion. It's the day that all the rival fans have been looking forward to, just where we completely fold and we give it all away. Now, first of all, I want to give a huge credit to Brighton. When you think about the Brighton team that came up a few years ago, the journey that they've been on to get into the position that they are has been absolutely incredible. They seem to be a very, very well run club with some great players in there. In terms of their business, their scouting, it's absolutely perfect every single time. We saw it in the January window where Moises Caicedo went onto social media and begged for his move away, but he didn't get it. They stood firm. They've integrated him back into the team. I just think it's a club that is run incredibly well, and I really do hope that they get those European spots because I think they really deserve to be playing Europa League football next year. Now, in terms of the game itself, obviously it was a big game. We knew that we had to try and keep up with Manchester City, but it wasn't to be. I think what disappointed Arsenal fans the most was just the manner in which we lost yesterday. Not the defeat in itself, but just the way that it happened. When you think about the Arsenal performances that you've seen over this season, it's been a team that have shown that they're able to dig deep. If they go behind, they'll battle back, they'll give everything. You saw it last weekend away at Newcastle. Very physical. The team wanted to fight for absolutely everything. They were fast, quick tempoed, and it just seemed that it wasn't in that Arsenal team yesterday. Now, I think a huge part of it might have been that Manchester City result. I think when you looked at the City fixture list and you know how important it is for them to win the Champions League, obviously they had either side of this Premier League game those trips to Real Madrid, having Real Madrid at home, but bang in the middle was obviously Everton away. We know firsthand that going up to Goodison Park, especially when are in poor form, how toxic that atmosphere can be and how difficult they can make it to play there. Now, seeing Manchester City go there, Pep Guardiola making four changes to his team, and they just breeze it 3-0 like it wasn't a problem at all. I think when you just saw the quality that they showed in that game, I mean, I watched the second half of it in the concourse at the Emirates, and after the first goal went in, you could feel the energy just zap from the room. It was one of those moments when you just realise that these guys aren't going to slip up. They're not going to go away. We're not going to catch them. They are an absolute juggernaut of world football. And I think that must have trickled down to the players. It would do mentally. We looked leggy. We looked tired. We just looked like we'd run out of steam towards the end of the season, really. I think when you look at Bukayo Saka's performances after the last few weeks, he just looks like a player who's run down. He's run into the ground. He's got nothing left to give. So I don't think you can be too angry with the boys. I mean, they're a very young team. They have a lot of learning to do, and I think we will see them improving over the next few years. Now, with some of these radio stations, social media outlets, obviously everyone's enjoying taking pelters at Arsenal at the moment. They've all come out of the woodwork now. It's the day that all the rival fans have been waiting for. But when you look at these media outlets, I'm surprised some of them haven't become carbon neutral yet. The way that they're absolutely recycling the content that they pumped out last year. I remember after we missed out on the fourth spot for the Champions League, the narrative was next year you're never going to get a better chance than you've had this year to get top four. Next year is going to be twice as hard. This team's going to be fighting for it. That team's going to be fighting for it. This team's going to be fighting for it. You might not be as good. You're going to lose players in the window. You might not spend the money that you need to in the summer. This was your opportunity and you've blown it. And essentially that's exactly what's being run out again this time, that Chelsea are going to be up there next year and Liverpool are going to be back up there next year. But it doesn't make any sense. I mean, when you look at what Arteta is doing at that club, if you take away, obviously, your club bias and you look at it almost from a neutral perspective, When you think about his first game at Bournemouth, I believe it was, where you've got Mustafi, Socrates, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Lucas Torreira, Kolasinac, Bernd Leno in goal, Lacazette, Aubameyang. The club has done a complete 180. Yeah, he's not managed to win us the Premier League in the 3 years that he's been there. He's not been able to take us from 8th to winners. I think if any manager managed to do that, it'd be one of the greatest achievements ever. Um, I think when you look at the culture that has been built at Arsenal now, the direction that we're going, the hunger that is being instilled into these players, the passion, the desire to want to play for this club, I think you'd be foolish to think that Arsenal will fall away. Obviously, there's every chance that they will. Like nothing is a granted in football, but I don't think you'd be making a rational decision to say that they'll slide away next year. I think it was almost a carbon copy of what we saw towards the end of last season, but maybe just a couple of levels above. Obviously, we missed out on the top four because we had injuries to Thomas Partey. Obviously, Nuno Tavares came in at left back instead of Kieran Tierney. We had the injuries to Ben White and Gabriel. Obviously, we forced them to play against Newcastle. And it just sort of dwindled out. We didn't have the legs towards the end. Now, I think what we've done this season, obviously, it's levels above where we were last year, but you've seen the same sort of fragilities in that squad. Obviously, losing Saliba is absolutely massive. You got to think what would have happened if he didn't get that injury against Sporting Lisbon. Would we have maybe seen out that game against Liverpool or West Ham, or would we have been so sloppy against Southampton? You think about the number of points that would have been. And when people say that Chelsea will be up there next year, they've had their problems this year. The same with Liverpool, they've had their problems. So have Arsenal. Everybody has had their problems this year. We've lost Gabriel Jesus for a huge number of months. We've lost Saliba at the crunch end of the season. Zinchenko's been in and out of the squad. Partey's been sort of in and out of the squad towards the start. So every team has their own issues. It's just how they've dealt with them. And we seem to have dealt with them incredibly well throughout the season, but we just didn't have enough to keep going towards the end. I've tried to avoid the term bottling it, but I think when you look at the games against Southampton and West Ham in particular, it's hard not to say that we have. But they're a young team. They've got a long way to go, and you have to think that in the summer, if you can strengthen that squad again, you can bring in a couple of very strong midfielders, another centre-back, another striker. You really could take another step forward in terms of where we are and look at really competing in the Champions League. When you look at the Manchester City team, I think it might be one of the best teams that we've ever seen in world football. When you compare it to, say, that famous Barcelona team or Real Madrid even, the Man United treble winning team, I think this Manchester City team could beat all of them quite easily as well. The treble that Man United won, this is going to blow it out the water if Manchester City do it this year. They look absolutely phenomenal. And you think if you lose Haaland through injury, you've got Alvarez, who starts for most other Premier League teams. You lose Jack Grealish, you bring in Foden, you send in João Cancelo out on loan because you don't need him. It's absolutely crazy that the quality they have in that team. So I don't think that we can sniff at it too much. It's been a fantastic year. Anybody would have bitten your hand off to finish second at the start of the season. I said it to my dad earlier on in the year. No matter what happens at the end of the season, it's been my favourite year to be an Arsenal fan. The memories that this has given me, being a season ticket holder, being at some of those games. I remember the Man United game, the Reece Nelson goal, the Jorginho last-minute winner coming off Martinez's face. It's been absolutely superb, and I've never felt so connected with the team than I have this season. Now, next week, obviously, we've got Forest away. I am out of the country for a week, so I won't be doing anything in regards to that. But the weekend after, last Premier League game of the season at home to Wolves. I'm very excited, and after the game, I'll be giving you my feedback on that. So until then, any likes, comments, subscribes you can give. Join us on the road to 100 subscribers. It will really mean a lot. And again, I can't wait to speak to you all soon.